The day has folded itself away, and whatever clatter lived in your mind is quieting now. You found your spot, perhaps nested in blankets, perhaps perched with one last sip of tea cooling on the bedside table. Before we drift to stone streets and flickering torches, would you leave a note for the others wandering through this hush? Tell us, what time is it where you are, and are you listening with a warm drink or something faintly sweet at your side? Your words will glow there for fellow nightwalkers to see. A breath in, easy, a breath out, easier still. Let your shoulders sink. Our road begins. Picture a city wrapped in stone walls, their faces scarred by weather and the lazy aim of boys flinging rocks. Dawn is a grey hush slipping over the ramparts, lighting roofs of weathered slate and thatch, patched with anything that might hold off rain. Beyond the north gate, fields stretch toward distant monasteries. Inside, alleys coil like veins, feeding into a market square where a pillory waits in the centre, like a stern old sentinel. Down one of those alleys, barely wider than two outstretched arms, lies a doorway that was never meant to welcome. No paint, no latch, just a rotten plank leaning off its hinges. You step inside, instinctively ducking through the lintel is already lower than your brow. Cold air clings to the packed earth floor. It smells of turnip peel, wood rot, and the faint sourness of unwashed bodies. On that floor sleeps a woman named Alice. Her back is curved, her knees drawn tight to her chest. She wears 2 wool gowns, both the shade of ashes, each one patched until the cloth is more patched than gown. Beneath her lies a scattering of straw so thin that the dirt kisses her hips through it. To keep warm, she has pulled an old sack over her feet, her toes poke through a frayed hole. The clay lamp beside her has burned itself empty, leaving a tongue of soot on the wall. Alice is what the town aldermen call a licensed beggar. The licence is a scrap of parchment pressed with a crimson seal, granting her legal right to ask for alms within the walls. Without it, she would be chased out by beadles swinging staves. The seal hangs on a leather lace around her neck. At night, she tucks it into her bodice for safety, though thieves rarely want such paper. They prefer coin, bread, or shoes, things that do not need ink to be worth something. She wakes before the church bell rings lauds. Her eyes open, and at once her stomach answers with a hollow groan. Yesterday's meal was a crust dipped in thin ale, shared with another beggar who has since moved on to the river bridge in search of better traffic. Hunger is a constant companion. It gnaws until pain dulls into habit. Alice sits up, rubbing her temples where lice have left tiny bites. She rakes fingers through greasy hair and murmurs a prayer, though she rarely attends Mass. The church pews are for guildsmen and burghers, she says. The porch is for the likes of her. Outside, dawn chills her breath into mist. She shuffles into the lane, leaning on a stick stripped of bark. It once had an iron ferrule, but someone pried it off in the night. She doesn't curse them. Anything loose in this quarter will find a new owner by sunrise. She passes other shapes stirring in doorways, thin men bundling rags, a child coughing hard enough to shake his ribs. No one speaks yet. Voices cost energy, and that is best saved for the crowd. The first stop is the monastery kitchen. A narrow postern door opens on Thursdays to feed the poor, and today is Thursday. Already a knot of people forms there. An old soldier missing half an ear, a washerwoman clutching an infant swaddled in towels, a blind boy led by his sister. They keep space between each other as if closeness might breed more hunger. When the monk appears with a wooden ladle and a cauldron of pottage, the line swells forward, but slowly. They have learned not to jostle. The monk will turn back inside if they do. Alice receives her share in a cracked bowl. Barley thickened with split peas, salted with whatever the kitchen scraped from yesterday's trenches. She whispers thanks and carries the bowl to a low stone step. Steam curls into her face, warming her cheeks. She sips, burns her tongue, sips again. The taste is plain, but each mouthful lays a blanket over the emptiness inside. She eats half, then tips the rest into a small flask corked with cloth. She will need something come dusk. With the monk's kindness cooling in her belly, Alice limps toward the market square. Sunlight crawls up the bell tower, painting birds' silhouettes as they skitter along the parapet. Merchants wheel barrows into place, potters stacking jugs in pyramids, bakers lifting golden loaves from straw-lined baskets, a butcher wiping yesterday's blood from his block. The air shifts from cold to sharp with smells. Onion tops, candle tallow, damp wool, Cinnamon if coin is good enough. Alice chooses a spot near the baker's stall where heat leaks from his oven mouth. She settles on a low stool and places her wooden bowl upside down beside her. On it she sets a pewter coin that never leaves her sight, a reminder she seeks alms. She crosses herself, straightens as best she can, and begins to sing. Her voice is thin but clear. The tune is an old carol about a maiden seeking shelter on a winter night. It drifts above the clatter, soft, almost fragile. Some passers-by glance her way, a few drop farthings. Each ping is a small mercy. Alice nods each time, murmuring, "God keep you." The baker's wife appears, presses 2 stale buns into Alice's hand. "Yesterday's," she says. "Better eat them moistened." Alice hides one bun under her cloak, tears the other into pieces, and slips crumbs into her mouth between verses. Hours pass, shadows shrink, then lengthen. Horse hooves clack over cobbles. A courier in livery rides through at speed, scattering chickens and curses. The sheriff's men march by, pikes upright, boots stamping in drill rhythm. Children weave around ankles, chasing a hoop made from a broken barrel band. Alice keeps singing until her throat rasps, then lapses into quiet pleading. "A coin for a hungry soul, sirs. A coin, if you please." She tries to lift her eyes to each person, but not too boldly. Boldness can invite scorn. Midday bells ring sext and the square pauses. Merchants chew cold meats. Apprentices sneak drinks from shared cups. A line of pilgrims gathers outside the church. Alice counts her earnings. 4 farthings and a halfpenny. Enough perhaps for a spoon of dripping. Maybe a cup of warm cider if she feels reckless. She ties the coins in a rag and tucks it under her shift against her skin. Pockets are sliced from gowns in this district faster than you can shout thief. Rain begins, a quick spiteful sprinkle that darkens the dust into patches. Alice stands, back aching, and hobbles toward the covered arcade by the Guildhall. There, beggars not licensed find shelter too. She must show her parchment seal to hold her spot. One man eyes her ragged shoes, holes at both toes. He asks how long she's kept them. She shrugs. He offers to buy them for a penny. She laughs, a sharp bark. Walk barefoot on cobbles? Even hunger won't tempt that bargain. By vespers, her knees tremble with each step. She stops near the apothecary's window to watch rich folk browse, glass jars filled with bright powders. She wonders if one vial could cure the ache that lives behind her ribs or mend the cough that sometimes steals her breath at night. She will never know. A single jar costs more than she earns in weeks. Dusk creeps across the roof lines. The town crier lights torches along the main thoroughfare, and their small flames bloom like orange flowers. Alice slips down a side street towards St. Leonard's Hospital, the leper's refuge, because rumour says the porter shares broth with anyone brave enough to speak kindly to those within. She stands at the fence, trading greetings with a woman whose nose is half-eaten by disease, yet whose laugh is wind-bright. The porter hands Alice a tin cup, thin broth dotted with fat. She drinks, and it slides warm into the hollow where fear sometimes nests. Night swallows colour. The city hums softer. Gilman retreat behind oak doors, their boots leaving wet prints that servants scrub away. Wenches spill from tavern shutters, cheeks pink, song rolling out like beer foam. Alice turns down a lane where no torch burns. Her door waits, still crooked. Inside, stale straw welcomes her elbows. She retrieves the flask of pottage, drinks what's left, cold now but thick. She lays the second bun beside her for dawn. Before sleep, she loosens the leather lace and lifts the license. She studies the red seal in candle stub glow. It's barely a circle now, edges chipped. If it breaks, she will lose her right to sing in the square. She wraps it in a scrap of linen and tucks it back safe. Rain returns, harder, drumming the roof planks. Drops seep through and tap her cheek. She rolls onto her side, pulling the sack tighter over her feet. The straw rustles, a sound like dry wind over harvested fields. Alice closes her eyes. Dreams come quick. Dreams of bread layered with butter thick as thumbs, of a blanket without holes, of a voice calling her by a name she's not heard since her mother last spoke it. A rat scrapes in the dark. She listens but does not move. Her coins are safe. She's too tired. Sleep folds around her like smoke from the kitchen she visited this morning. Outside, the city mutters through stone, wood, rain and breath. Tomorrow the monk will open the door again. Tomorrow the square will fill again. Tomorrow she will sing until the air in her chest feels like broken glass, then count the pennies that decide whether night will come with a growl or with a whisper. But for now, beneath a leaking roof, on straw gone thin, Alice lets her hunger loosen its grip. Rain keeps time on the wood above. Her heartbeat answers slower, slower, until it merges with the hush that lives in every medieval city once lamps gutter out. Somewhere a church bell tolls Compline. Somewhere a constable stamps cold feet. Somewhere a child stirs, hears the storm, and buries his face in his mother's shawl. And Alice sleeps, poor, aching, yet wrapped in the small mercy of darkness that forgets wealth and want alike. The city dreams with her, and the night stretches long enough for both. The rain doesn't stop. It thickens in the hours before sunrise, soaking through the broken shingles, until the drops no longer fall. They drip, a patient, rhythmic tap against Alice's shoulder. She shifts beneath the sackcloth, curls her toes until the blood stirs. There's no dream left, only damp. She rises before the bell at matins. No lamp burns. She sold the stub last week for a crust. The sky outside is the same colour as stone. Her joints ache as if the cold has folded itself into the shape of her. Still, she stands. Still, she moves. That's the work now. Moving. On days like this, the city feels wider, the corners deeper. The alleys drink the rain and give nothing back. Alice steps carefully, her soles near splitting, avoiding puddles by habit more than hope. She passes the tannery, where even dogs turn their noses from the stink. Steam curls up from behind the doors. Inside, someone coughs, a wet, hacking sound. She remembers the boy who worked there last spring. Red hair, missing 3 fingers. He hasn't been seen in months. At the square, the stalls are slow to open. Rain makes buyers scarce, and without buyers, there are fewer eyes to pity. Alice stands where the baker's oven once shared its warmth, but the door stays shut. No buns today. Instead, she heads for the cathedral steps. There, under the gargoyles who weep as stone things do, she joins others huddled beneath the overhang. They don't speak at first. Words feel wrong in morning dark. But as the sky begins to pale, just slightly, someone hums a hymn. It's old, older than even the bones in the graveyard behind the church. Alice doesn't know all the words, but she hums along. Not for God, not really. But because the melody stretches back through winters past and makes the air feel less empty. A deacon arrives, robes soaked at the hem, and motions them back. They shuffle off, not surprised. Sometimes the steps are allowed, sometimes not. There is no pattern. Alice wanders past the fishmonger's stall where eels writhe in wooden tubs, their skins slick as ink. She tries not to watch. Last week a man slipped one into his sleeve, only to be caught when it squirmed. He was beaten with the heel of his own shoe. The eel was eaten anyway. She stops at the edge of the bridge where others have gathered. This is where beggars without licenses cluster, their eyes low, their hands out. No parchment seal hangs around their necks. They beg in whispers, afraid. The city's beadles patrol this spot often, swinging their staves like a warning bell. One wrong word and a foot lashes out. One wrong look and the cart rolls up with rope and shackles. But this morning the rain keeps the beadles away. There's a man here, Peter. His back is crooked like a fishhook, and he wears a hat made from stitched rags. He speaks 6 languages, or so he claims, and once worked in a scribe's shop before his hands began to shake. He speaks of letters, parchment smoothed by moonlight, of ink that smelled like almonds. No one knows if it's true, but when he talks the wind stills. The boy kneels beside him, no more than 10. His cheeks are hollow, his fingers cracked. He holds a wooden bowl carved with clumsy flowers, clearly his own hand, though the knife must have slipped more than once. The bowl is empty. Alice reaches into her shift. One of yesterday's farthings presses cold into her fingers. She hesitates, then drops it into the boy's bowl. He doesn't speak. He only nods. It's a nod older than him, a thank you shaped by hunger. In the cathedral square, punishment waits. Today, a woman accused of theft is tied to the pillory. Her face is bruised, her lips split. Rain slides down her cheeks, but she does not cry. Onlookers jeer, A man tosses a cabbage core. It hits her shoulder and rolls off. The bailiff says she took a coin from a merchant's purse. She says it fell and she only bent to return it. No one believes her. She has no seal. Alice watches from the edge of the crowd. This is what happens to beggars who stop begging and try something else. By midday, the rain has slackened, though the sky holds its breath. Alice makes her way to the weaver's quarter, where threads are dyed and dried on wooden racks. Colour leaches from every alley. Madder red, woad blue, saffron yellow. It smells of vinegar and wet cloth. She knows a girl here, Marjorie, who sometimes slips her wool trimmings to sell. Marjorie's brother watches for the dyer's apprentice. When the alley is clear, he nods. The bundle is small, tangled ends of yarn too short for sleeves, not short enough to toss. Alice tucks them beneath her cloak and nods back. She will trade them for a heel of bread at the ragman's door. The bread will be hard, but the crust will scrape her teeth like she's eating something real. In the market, a friar preaches fire from a cider crate. He shouts of pride and punishment, of lewdness and judgment. He stares straight at the women hunched near the tavern, their skirts hitched above the ankle, their mouths red with berries or beetroot or blood. Alice listens from the edge. The friar says beggary is a sin if the hands still work. She looks at her hands. One knuckle is purple from yesterday's fall. The other grips her walking stick like it's grown from her bone. By vespers, her limbs sag like wet laundry. She walks toward the west gate where carts leave for nearby villages. Sometimes, when she looks desperate enough, a driver lets her ride until the orchard road. She's done it before. Plucked windfalls after dark, bruised apples that no one guards. She eats them even with worms. But tonight, the gate guards are alert. A merchant's son was robbed last week outside the walls. Every face is suspect. Alice turns back before they notice her. She returns through the north end past the leech's house. In the window, a jar glows with pale fluid. Inside floats something that was once a hand. The leech says it belonged to a thief who stole bread and lost more than appetite. Children dare each other to touch the door. Alice does not stop. She knows the leech has herbs that might help her cough, but herbs cost coin, and she has none. Night thickens. The city shrinks into itself. Shop shutters creak closed, doors bolt. The world becomes alleys and corners and shadows that shift without wind. Alice walks until her feet no longer respond to command. They stumble toward familiar rot and cracked stone. The door waits, the same crooked lean, the same ache behind it. Inside, she unpacks her day. A strip of wool, 2 copper bits, a bruised apple half the size of her fist. She eats the apple slowly, like it's something sacred. She saves the smaller half. The copper she hides in her shoe. The wool she places under her head for softness. The straw is wetter than yesterday. She doesn't bother to rearrange it. She lowers herself, joints creaking, spine singing its long, quiet song of complaint. The patch of roof above her face drips once, twice. She places the apple crust side up to keep it dry. Tomorrow she will try the docks. New ships mean new sailors, and new sailors mean fresh coins and hearts not yet hardened to this place. Or she may try the chapel steps and hope the priest with the mole on his nose is on duty. He gave her a piece of cheese once, 3 winters ago. She doesn't pray, not out loud, but she does whisper something as she turns on her side. It sounds like the name of someone who never answered. Outside, a dog barks once, the door slams, and the rest is quiet. The city sleeps. The rich on feather beds under wool dyed blue and stitched with initials. The apprentices in corners beside dying coals. The priests on pallets stuffed with hay. And beggars, on earth, under rain, between silence and memory. Alice closes her eyes and lets go of the day. She'll pick it back up in the morning, coin by coin, step by aching step. But not yet, not now. The dark asks nothing of her, and for once she has nothing left to give. The frost arrives with no fanfare. One dawn, the air simply changes. It has weight to it now, and silence. You can hear the difference in footsteps, the way boots strike stone with a crisper note, the way even the rats tread carefully. In the poorest quarters, no one mentions the shift aloud. To speak it might invite the cold deeper in. Alice notices first in her fingers. They ache as soon as she wakes, stiff as if she slept inside a glove made of stone. She holds them to her mouth, breathes on the knuckles. It helps, just barely. The straw beneath her is no longer wet, just brittle. The cold has baked the moisture out of it. That might be a mercy, or not. She doesn't decide. Outside, the rain has gone, but the wind bites clean through threadbare wool. Smoke hangs low in the alleys. The city smells of firewood and boiled cabbage, of iron and unwashed cloth, and always the faint trace of manure that never quite leaves. Every breath cuts a little, but still she walks. She always walks. Today she skips the square. Too many other voices there now, too many hands held out with better stories than hers. She walks toward the bridge instead, where wagons slow to cross and guards pay less attention. There's a man who brings apples from the countryside, small ones, red as candle wax. She hopes he's come again. He has. She sees his cart near the third arch, wheels muddy, the cloth canopy flapping like a tired flag. He's speaking with a woman in a fur-lined cloak, her gloves bright with embroidery. Alice watches from a distance. When the woman leaves, she approaches, soft-footed. She doesn't speak at first, just stands. He turns, sees her, frowns a little. She opens her mouth to beg, but something in her throat catches. He sighs, pulls a bruised apple from the crate, holds it out. She nods, bows a little, and takes it with both hands. It's small, but warm from the crate, and she presses it to her cheek before slipping it into her pocket. He doesn't smile. He never does. But he doesn't turn her away either. That's something. She walks eastward after that toward the fish gate. The river runs fast and flat there, cutting through the mud flats like silver ribbon. On cold days, the steam rises from it in long, low trails. Sometimes she goes just to look. The water always moves. That comforts her. She sits on a broken cart plank by the shore. Her knees point skyward, her arms wrapped around them. The city hums behind her. Hammers, bells, voices, but she lets it blur. Geese honk on the far bank. Someone is trying to sell flint, shouting prices to an empty street. Alice picks at the apple. The skin breaks under her nail. It's sweet, almost too sweet, and she saves the last bite to suck on slowly. It tastes like something expensive. When the wind rises, she heads back, slowly now. The ache in her hip has grown. She limps with each step, leaning hard on the stick. Her bones feel hollow, not from illness, just from years. She pauses outside the infirmary. It smells of vinegar and lye. A nurse watches her from the doorway. They know her face, but never her name. She does not go in. There's an old man who sleeps behind the cooper's shop. He doesn't speak, hasn't in weeks. She checks on him. He's still breathing, just barely. She leaves half the apple beside his hand, wrapped in a corner of her shift. Back in her lane, someone has taken her straw. It's not a surprise. She stares at the empty space, then at the ceiling, then back again. The drip from the roof has slowed, but not stopped. She sighs, low, from her stomach, and sits anyway. Crosses her legs, feels the dirt press against her through the thin wool. Her head tips forward, not asleep, just resting. Across town the bells ring none. Afternoon shadows stretch long and blue. Apprentices dash down alleys with errands half forgotten. Housemaids empty chamber pots into gutters. The richer parts of the city prepare for supper. Pies are being cut, butter melted, fires stoked. But no one prepares for Alice. No one thinks of her now. Not cruelly, just not at all. Night comes fast this time of year. By the time she shifts again, it's already dark enough to see stars. Her stomach has quieted. Her hands lie still. Someone passes, looks down, says nothing, keeps walking. Tomorrow she may sing again, or she may not. If the hip pain grows, she won't make it to the square. If she does, she'll stand on the same stone step, her seal tucked into the same fold, her voice searching the air for mercy. But that is tomorrow. Tonight the city is colder than usual, and the alley holds its breath. Alice lies down without undressing. There's no warmth to be gained from it. She pulls the edge of her cloak over her eyes and waits for the sleep to come. It doesn't arrive quickly, but it does arrive. Eventually, it always does. In the cathedral, someone sings Compline. Outside the city walls, a fox cries, sharp and lonely. The torches gutter low. The beggars of the bridge curl against stone. and the medieval city, cruel and indifferent, rests under stars that shine without care. Tomorrow, no one will remember the name Alice. But for now, in this breath between days, she dreams again of things soft and warm and out of reach. And somewhere, between pain and peace, the world slips quiet. Sleep comes and stays.